and as mayor, it's something I want to be really focused on. I'm interested in looking at how we do our banking as a city. We actually invest our dollars in banks, but are the banks that we're investing our dollars in, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, are the banks doing everything they can to invest in small businesses, to provide loans to small businesses, to single-family homeowners, and to help with development? I don't believe so. Is there a way that we can structure how we invest our dollars in local financial institutions, or perhaps create our own local financial institution that can actually stimulate our local economy by providing more loans to small businesses? Can we actually decide that we're going to invest our dollars, our public dollars, in a bank that who is doing more of that work? That's what I'd like to be able to tackle as your mayor. I believe these are the kind of structures that I'm willing to change and recreate, that they'll create the kind of change that we need to really improve small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that we all know how important small business is here in San Francisco. It compromises 70% of the business that goes on in this city. We have to have an administration and people in elective office that are dedicated to supporting small business. When I was on the Board of Supervisors, we had 2 regulatory steps. Now there's 15. We are regulating them out of existence. For every person they hire, it's another family in San Francisco. We have to eliminate the fees, the hidden costs, the red tape associated with small business. We have to reduce the parking meters because that doesn't support patronage of small business. We have to encourage small business. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but let's just start with the simple things here so that we can get San Francisco back on its feet as the city that knows how.
I think there are a number of things that one can do to protect small businesses. I think there are many chains within the city and county of San Francisco. And while there are some neighborhoods that want those chains, don't think that it's a negative impact to them, but in other areas it may be. And we ought to be a little bit more sensitive and careful about that. We also need to be supportive of small businesses. You know, one of the things that is rather odd in San Francisco is that we don't pay attention to small businesses until they cry uncle. That they're just tired of the fees, they're tired of the inability to move on permits, they're tired of this red tape, that red tape. And we ought to have the mayor's office be a partner with all small businesses so that we understand their problems and try to deal with them before they become a problem. It's rather interesting that we deal with people and we try to anticipate their problem, but we don't do that for small businesses. And that's what we ought to do. We need to help them early on rather than trying to save them when they've got 1 foot out the door already.
For small businesses, they're our biggest job creator here in San Francisco. And we frankly haven't done enough to make sure we are incentivizing them. I can take a couple lessons for programs that I helped start. When we looked at Go Solar, we looked at how do we incentivize San Franciscans to go do the right thing and put solar on their roofs. That created a number of small businesses here in San Francisco. We should be looking at the same thing and how we can incentivize, not force people, but how can we encourage them to direct their business at the small business community. We opened a foreign trade office in China. First ever of its kind in San Francisco. It's there to attract businesses from China to open up offices here. We have a small business commission that could be doing the exact same thing. China SF basically helps companies navigate our bureaucracy and encourages us to be here. We need our small business commission, that office, to be triple, quadruple, tenfold to make sure that small businesses have a place to contact. They can figure out how to get help to cut through red tape, and that they can get the assistance they need to survive in San Francisco.
One of the great things about running for mayor is that you develop an appreciation for what the former mayor has done well. And again, I come to the point, it's easy to criticize, and leadership is about accomplishing things. One of the things that Gavin Newsom did was really revitalize the Mayor's Office of Economic and Workforce Development. And if you look at the work that was done to bring the Stem Cell Center here, and the work that he did with Michela around biotech tax credit, clean tech tax credit, but there's a woman, Amy Cohen, that's in there, and they have a neighborhood revitalization shop that has done amazing work in mid-market and a lot of other neighborhoods, Fillmore and other neighborhoods. And so I think that there is a foundation to build upon. And we know that with neighborhood serving retail, as Leland said, sometimes you need an anchor. Sometimes you need something different than a nail salon, and then sometimes you need to change the rules, and both Michela and I have done that. For myself, on 24th Street in the Castro, and Michela did it on Union Street and started in Fillmore, where there were restaurant restrictions. You had to lift them up so we could have new businesses come in. Thank you.
It's a big topic. And one that, that you could have a debate on in and of itself. Tony had said 70% of business comes out of small businesses. My understanding is that 60% of jobs, direct jobs, come out of it. When we look at some of the things that San Francisco can do and does do, unfortunately, for small businesses, we have a knack of making their life very difficult. The game always changes. I hear that from restaurateurs all the time. I know what the rules are, and then the next day, the Board of Supervisors, they change it, they put on another fee. Now all of a sudden, I have to send all of my cooks across and buy my vegetables already cut up because I can't afford to have more than 20 employees in San Francisco. There are all sorts of different complaints that come out of our small businesses, and we need to sit back and we need to listen to them. We did that, both Bevan and I, in the two examples that he just gave. We opened up restaurants on Union Street because we realized that that could help that community thrive, and it has. We went from 22 open storefronts when that legislation was passed, and now we have 10. We still have more work to do, but it was something that had worked. Also, industries like the cruise ship industry really help small businesses because it gives them a stable environment. When we had cruise ships here in the 1970s, they uplifted and upheld our florists in District 1. We had hundreds of them, and our caterers, and our small dress shops. We need to create industries that will promote their growth and that will bring people into their stores.
I agree with Tony and Michela with respect to reducing red tape, and I think there's some bigger things we need to do too. Because what is it that hurts small businesses the most right off the bat? A tax structure that penalizes them for lack of job creation. That's why 4 months ago I did an op-ed that said my first day as mayor I'll call for a summit to redo the city's business payroll tax, which is a job killer and subjects our $350 million that we get from the business tax to the vagaries of the local economy. It discourages job growth. Only 8,000 of our 80,000 businesses pay it, and it disproportionately impacts small and medium-sized businesses. Second, as I said, the city needs to put some skin in the game too and dramatically expand our small business revolving loan fund so we can provide credit to small business owners that are struggling, but also send a message to them that we're in it with them and we want to support them. And finally, Bevan talked about the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. From my perspective, they do great work, but it has been too heavily focused on major projects like Mission Bay and others, and we need to have ombudsmen in there working with small businesses to react to their everyday concerns so we can help them through the bureaucracy and make life easier for them.
As a one person here who actually has started and founded a small business, I know how difficult it is that the city makes it. And we're all elected officials here. I don't want to talk about what we're going to do. Let me talk about what I have done. Last year I passed legislation that eliminated dozens of fees that are nickel and dime small businesses. We have hundreds of millions of contracts that are going out to non-San Francisco businesses. I helped to pass legislation to make sure that more of these contracts get awarded to small and local businesses. Dennis talked about the business payroll tax. This is something I've been talking about for years, and in the last couple of months we passed several pieces of legislation to make sure that small and local startup companies are going to be exempted from our business payroll tax. And we all know that small businesses need help in city government, and this is why I was happy to help support and draft the legislation that created the Office of Small Business, and just a couple weeks ago to make sure that this office was fully funded, so that those of you who are running small businesses can get help in navigating our bureaucracy. I hope that what I've done will be a reflection of what I will do as your next mayor.
Turned it off on me. By the way, so I also have started businesses, except I started them small and they grew large, so maybe you stayed in the small side. I spend a lot of time out in our neighborhoods, and I walk merchant corridors. Yesterday I was on Irving, we're in the inner Sunset right now, so I was on Irving Street, and I can tell you every single store I go into, when I ask them how it's going, they bring me over to their wall and show me all the permits and licenses that they now need to have. When they said that I started the business, I had 3, now I need 12. They were $30, now they're $90. And they said, it's killing me. And while I hear about all the good work, what I hear from merchants is, why are all the people in City Hall imposing all these additional licenses and permits and additional burden on us? And what they want is change. The other thing that I think we have a tremendous opportunity to do is create local venture funds that support the development of small businesses and really tap into the entrepreneurial talent that's in this community and match some of these small business owners with some of the experienced talent that's done it before.